Alright, so I'm on. I'll set my stopwatch. You know. Yeah, Cal took my joke. I was going to make that joke. But,
Maybe it was just Jesus' joke.
yeah, maybe. So, I don't have that long. Really, only, have you got a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Pastor Tim asked me, and before we do that, look, what we're talking about here today is the best news I've ever heard in my life. And it's changed everything. I'm on a diet right now because the gospel made everything better. Everything better. It made my marriage better, my relation to my 2 daughters better, my relationship with my church better. It made my food taste better. I'm not kidding. Everything was better. I had a moment when my older daughter was about 3.5 years old. She said, and we were just starting to understand our inclusion in Jesus. And she said, Dad, can you make popcorn? We were going to watch a movie together, which probably was like a Barbie movie, right? So she said, can you make popcorn, and would you make it with extra, extra, extra butter? So I made the popcorn and put the butter on it. And she and I were sitting on the couch together watching this movie. And I watched her put her hand in the bowl and put the popcorn in her mouth and smile. Because it tasted good and her daddy made it for her. And I thought, that's it. That's the way I'm to live my life in every way. God says, put your hand in the bowl and taste and see that I am good. Everything's been better. And I don't know how long it would take. I think eventually we would get here, but that man over there, Tim Brissell, is the one that was out front saying to all of us, I have seen something too beautiful for words. Come with me, and we'll do what we can to talk about it. So I just want to tell you thank you, Tim. So in 2007, I was still brand new at pastoring. I'd only been a pastor for a couple of years. And I had a situation that arose in my church, and I was counseling with Tim about it. And I even ended up in regular correspondence with a man named Rediger. He wrote a book called Clergy Killers. And it's a book about how pastors can deal with factions. Sometimes factions develop within churches, and like the deacons board will get upset with the pastor. You know the joke, right? There's a Catholic priest, a Jewish rabbi, and a Baptist minister walking down a flight of stairs. The Catholic priest trips, and he says 5 Hail Marys and goes on about his way. The Jewish rabbi trips, and he says something in Yiddish that no one understood. And the Baptist pastor tripped over the same spot, and he turned around and said, which one of my deacons pushed me? Right, so sometimes those things can happen. And Rediger's book is about how, as pastors, we navigate those sort of situations. So it was down to the point where Tim was saying, hey, you got to deal with this problem. And I'm saying, no, I'm not going to deal with this problem. I'm going to talk to this person, and I'm going to love on this person, and I know I can win them with love. And finally, Rediger wrote me and said, this is the kind of guy that will show up at your house and shoot you and your family. And so we had to sever our relationship between this person and our church. And for over 2.5 years, I laid awake at night, at least one night a week, thinking I was just a terrible pastor, that, if I had done this differently, this person would be in a better place, and, you weren't patient enough, and you could have, and it was in my relationship with Tim, and then later with a very close friend of Tim's that he introduced me to, that I began to see and recognize that, no, where's that coming from? Where are those accusations? Those are accusations. Jesus is not our accuser. Those accusations were coming from Ophis. If you don't know, does anyone know who Ophis is? Yeah, that's the Greek word in Revelation for serpent. And Baxter likes to use that word because it sounds more like doofus. And it doesn't give the evil one as much power and fear. You know, we hear Satan and evil one and we, ooh, it's Ophis. And then I read something that I'm going to read to you right now that changed everything. In 1 John 4, I'm going to begin reading in verse 16. So we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love. And those who abide in love abide in God. And look, don't get this twisted and think that, okay, well, if I don't love God, He doesn't abide in me or something like that. When John says abide, he means like, ooh, really, just vibrantly alive. Verse 17, love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness on the day of judgment, because as Jesus is, so are we in this world. I didn't make that up. I'm just telling you what John said. If it's wrong or if it's crazy, you can blame him. But I'm going to take him at his word. In fact, there are times when I write that on my mirror, on the bathroom mirror. We have dry erase markers in our downstairs bathroom. And if I've been a little hard on my girls, sometimes I'll leave them a note in the morning on the mirror. They leave notes for me. My wife and I leave notes on the mirror to one another. And one of the things that I'll write on that mirror is, as Jesus is, so am I. Not later, not in the kingdom, not in heaven, not in the resurrection, not after soul sleep or whatever you personally happen to believe, but right now, in this world. As Jesus is, so am I in this world. So you can call me stupid, and it won't hurt my feelings. I won't be offended. You know why? Because I know I'm not stupid. I might do something stupid. But that doesn't mean that I am stupid. So let's do this. I went to the store. So let's do this. Let's work on a list or two. It's in here. There we go. Let's work on this list first. What is Jesus? Loved. Ooh. He is loved and He is loved. What else? He's true. We'll just say He's truth. He's what?
Kind.
Kind. Forgiving.
Alive.
Yeah.
The way.
Alive. Yeah.
Understanding.
Understanding.
Patient.
Yes.
Merciful.
Man, we can go all day, can't we?
Peaceful.
Oh, I love that one. Couldn't we use a little of that? He's peaceful.
Emmanuel.
Yes.
Holy.
Yeah, let's talk about holy later. I'm going to circle that one.
Grace.
So what are you? All of those things. You're patient. You are. You don't always act like it. I don't always act like it. Anybody ever driven in a car with me? You see, Tim, my thoughts come out of here a lot when I'm driving. Because I'm thinking, what are you doing? And I'm saying, what are you doing? And my girls, because they listen, my girls will be in the back seat. Go! Would you just go? It's green! And I'm going, yeah. That was mine. They can't help it. I did that to him. So what is he not?
Failure.
Failure. Judgmental.
Harsh.
Harsh.
Evil.
Evil. Someone said unfaithful.
Unforgiving.
Forsaken. Somebody said forsaken.
Sin.
Yeah. Sinner. All right, so let's do this real quick. This one, forsaken. So there's this politician, and he's on his third marriage. It's not a joke, by the way. This is the truth. That's funny. Hey, I'll tell you a good joke. A Catholic priest, a nun, and Josh Scobie walk into a bar. Well, that's it. That's the end of it. There is no kicker. If you're a Steelers fan, you know that. You get that one. Or if you're a Ravens fan, you get that joke. But let's talk about forsaken. Jesus is not forsaken. All right, so there's this politician. He's on his third marriage, right? And when he married wife number one, you know what he said to her? He said, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. And then he cheated on her with the woman who would become wife number two. And then when he married wife number two, guess what he said? I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. And then he cheated on wife number two with the woman who would become wife number three. And when he married wife number three, he said, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. But see, wife number two and wife number three have no ground or grammar, to borrow from Torrance, have no ground or grammar to believe what he said because of what he has already done. And if God the Father would forsake his only Son in his hour of greatest need, how can you believe that he will never leave or forsake you? Jesus is not forsaken, has never been forsaken by the Father. What else is Jesus not? Is he afraid? No.
Bold here. No, he is bold.
Yeah, he is bold. All right, so what happens when Jesus hears the Father say, this is my beloved Son in whom my soul delights? Does he look down at the ground and kick rocks and say, oh, shucks, Dad, it's just little old me? Or does he receive the Father's praise? Yeah. We need to learn how to receive the Father's praise even if it comes through a human being. When somebody says, you did a great job at that. That was amazing. Receive it. Say thank you. It's hard for us. It's hard for me. Just because we're, like Tim said, we're broken. We're broken in all kinds of ways. Jesus is not broken. And the real us is not broken. We're just playing catch up in this life to the real us that is seated at this very moment at the right hand of the Father. That's whole. The best definition I ever heard of wholeness goes like this. Wholeness is when the way of your being aligns with the truth of your being. This is the truth of my being. All of this is a lie. And I don't want to hear it. I'm sure you don't want to hear it. The truth of my being is found in Jesus Christ. As Jesus is, so are we in this world. You know, there's a technique in pop psychology. If you are counseling with a psychologist, and let's say you're, especially depression, you're suffering with depression and you're seeing a counselor, one of the techniques that is proven to work, it is a clinical fact that one of the medications, most effective medications for depression, is for the person who suffers from depression to go and serve others. Go volunteer somewhere. Go serve others. Well, why does that help? Yes, ma'am.
It puts you in an outgoing position.
It puts you in an other-centered position. Who do you know that's other-centered?
Jesus.
That's right. The Father, Son, and Spirit have existed eternally in a co-equal, other-centered, mutually self-giving relationship. And you're created in the image of who now? You're Imago Dei. The image of God, that's who you are. You're created in the image of the God who is love. God is love, right? If God is love, what does God do? Because God does what God is. The fancy way to say it is like this. There is no economic trinity behind the back of the ontological trinity. And all that means is there's no God doing anything behind the back of the God who is. I had a discussion one time with a Presbyterian pastor, and we were talking about who God loves and who God doesn't love. He was talking about the doesn't love part. And I said, well, is there a God who is not love? What do you mean? God is love. Yeah, he got that. Is there a God other than the God who is love? Who creates people? No. So if God is love, and God does love, then the fact that you can see that person is proof that he loves them. Because he made them. And if he made them out of his own being, which is love. How could he not love them? The gospel is so simple. It is so simple. So you're created in the image of God, and the reason, but let me read you from Ray Anderson. In his book, Historical Transcendence and the Reality of God. That's a big fancy title. But he's basically just in the book talking about, well, let me just read it. He says this, because I meet my own real existence when I act in love toward the other, I see beyond his actual existence with its limitations and immaturities. I do not merely tolerate him, I see his reality as a person. Because see, I'm gonna read 1 John 4:17, and I'm gonna do everything I can to live out of this. This is who I am. I'm patient, and I'm loving, and I'm kind. And it's not just my defense against the lies of Ophis. It's my modus operandi. It's my way of being. When I'm in traffic, I have to remind myself, no, I'm patient. I'm patient. Remember that? I'm patient. And I'm not going to let this external force or this external influence, maybe, because this is what gets me. Because I used to have this rule that I have abandoned. If you don't go when the light turns green, I'm going to count to 3. And then I'm going to give you the horn, but I'm going to give you the polite one. Does anybody know the polite one? Beep, beep. If the light turns green and you don't go, and I see you doing this on your phone, you're getting it after 1 second, you're getting the full 5 minute. Because you deserve it. I think what I realize now is I don't know what's going on in that person's life. And I'm not their judge. I'm not the traffic police. I'm not in charge of who goes at the stoplight. And if I have to sit through another light, so what? We were at traveling to summer camp this summer, and we stopped at a fast food joint because it was convenient. Go in, grab some breakfast, and leave. And the person behind the register was new, and you only get those people when you're in a hurry, right? But here's the thing: if you pray, if you say to Jesus, say, Jesus, help me be a more patient person. Do you expect that He's going to wave a magic wand at you and violate your personhood? No, be ready, because He's going to put you in situations to give you an opportunity to practice being patient. So we're standing there. And I'm like, well, the Lord's going to be back any minute now. I sure would like to get this biscuit before he comes. But we're just being as patient as we can be. But the guy in front of me was not being patient. You ever had this situation? The person in front of you is just losing it. And they're not just going to lose it. They're going to turn around and try to draw you into it. Have you ever seen... because when everybody gets thrown out for disorderly conduct, I want my biscuit. So when we left, the guy behind us got out about the same time we did. We're walking back to the parking lot, and he just looks at me and goes, "Man, wasn't that something?" And I said, "Yeah, I mean, why are we so impatient?" I said, "You ain't doing nothing but dying. Why are you in such a hurry?" Didn't your parents ever teach you not to wish your life away? You can't wait till Friday. No. Live in the grace of one day. I'm going to live in the grace of this moment, because as Jesus is, so am I in this world. And Jesus is patient, and He tells the truth, and He's kind, and He's forgiving, and He's peaceful, and He's alive, like really alive. And He's understanding. He's merciful, and a million other things that we could probably never describe. And you know what else? That's the truth, the real truth about you. And about everyone else you will ever meet. I feel like we should pray. Father, Son, and Spirit, we know that you love us and you like us. And I think that's probably the most amazing and the most difficult part for us to believe, is that you like us. Somehow we've swallowed the lie that you only tolerate us because Jesus, from time to time, turns to you and convinces you not to destroy us or obliterate us from the cosmos. Holy Spirit, show us who we are. Help us take sides with Jesus against the way we see ourselves. And thank you for loving us. In Jesus' name.